I recognize Representative Anchía.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Members, you recall from the debate last week that Representative Johnson and I got up and we were talking about how important it was to look at the differences between open carry in rural areas and open carry in urban areas. And the amendment that this body ultimately did not adopt was related to open carry and putting local jurisdictions in control of those decisions. And at the time, the amendment said we're going to allow city councils to opt out of open carry. And that ultimately was defeated. But as I was speaking with many of you on the floor, some of you were saying, hey, it would be different if the voters of an urban, a large urban a city were to decide no, that in fact they did not want open carry in their communities. And we had that debate vigorously, and I visited with Representative Johnson, and this really is a case of first impression in the United States. We would be doing something unprecedented in this body by allowing open carry in large urban environments. And I will go down the list for you, members, because while we have a number of Texas cities in the top 10 in the United States, we would be the only ones in the U.S. that would be allowing open carry. I would point out that while the authors of this bill have said, hey, many states have done this and Texas lags behind, those states that do open carry exempt or create caveats or allow large urban populations to opt out. In New York, for example, in New York City, which is the largest city in the United States, there's no open carry. In Los Angeles, there's no open carry. In Chicago, there's no open carry. In Philadelphia, there is open carry with restrictions. In San Diego, there's no open carry. In San Jose, there's no open carry. In San Francisco, there's no open carry. And so the Texas cities that would be on the list of the most populated cities are Houston, which is number 4, San Antonio, which is number 7, Dallas, which is number 9, and Austin, which is number 12. Of the top 12 cities, none have unfettered open carry like we would be asking for today. So what I'm asking you, members, is to allow the large cities by means of a popular vote to opt out. What we are doing is unprecedented, members. It is unprecedented in Second Amendment jurisprudence because open carry is not a constitutionally protected right. It is unprecedented in the scale that we are permitting this. And I ask you, especially for those of you from urban areas, be you Republicans or Democrats, you will not be thanked by your voters when your senior citizen is out sweeping her front sidewalk and a strange man that's dripping with clips and has holstered guns walks up to her. You are not going to be thanked by that family that is having a picnic in North Dallas when strange men walk into the public park and start spending time around them, doing their thing, playing loud music. You are not going to be thanked by that soccer mom who's jogging around White Rock Lake and
Mr.
three
Speaker.
guys roll up on her, open carrying. Be they Republicans or Democrats, they are not going to thank you for this vote that you have taken.
For what purpose?
So I'm asking that you allow large urban areas in excess of 750,000 persons to vote on this. And members, if you're from a rural area or from an unaffected city, please white light on this, because these aren't your communities that we're talking about. And if you are from an urban area, you will simply be allowing your constituents, some of you whom you say want you to do this, and some people came to the back mic on me last time and represented that their communities want this. Well, if that's the case, let them vote on it. I will tell you the Texas Tribune poll doesn't bear that out. The Texas Tribune poll, in conjunction with the University of Texas, says 68% of Texans do not want open carry. Only 32% do. So please, for those of you who do not represent the large cities in excess of 750,000, white light or vote in favor, because this is not your fight. But if you are in the large urban areas, please let us decide our fate on this, because we are in unprecedented territory, members, and we are about to make a big mistake. I yield for questions.
Everyone yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Anchía, you listed a number of large cities that do not allow open carry. One of the cities that you did not mention, I don't believe, is Denver, Colorado. The rest of Colorado allows a license permitted statewide, but not in the city and county of Denver. And for the most part, the people in our area, in Dallas and in the suburban areas in the Southwest, have voiced in town hall meetings and in other forums that this whole idea of open carry in their areas frightened them. Have you heard that?
Yes, I have. And listen, nobody in the district that I represent is calling, and I'm talking about Republicans or Democrats.
Absolutely.
That I hear from regularly. Nobody in Kessler Park, nobody in Winnetka Heights, nobody in the West Highland Park area that I represent, nobody in Grawweiler, nobody in Farmers Branch, nobody in Irving, in the areas that I represent, have told me that they want open carry. So what I'm saying is, for the big cities, for Dallas, let us vote on it. Let us vote to see if that's where we want to go. And Denver's a really good example, Madam Chair. And it is not in the top 12 cities that I listed. It's just not big enough. But what they did when they went to state open carry is they said, hey, Denver gets to vote on it separately, because we understand, we acknowledge, and we affirm that rural open carry is different than densely populated open carry. Because you know what? The little old lady who votes for you, she's not going to thank you. She's not going to say thank you so much for allowing strange men to walk down my street packing heat. It's not the case. It's just not going to happen, be they Republicans or Democrats.
Right.
Our constituents are not asking for this. So we say, let's take it to a public vote and see if, in fact, the support is there, like many of the people on this House floor have represented.
And are you aware that for the most part in New York, it is only in rural areas where this open carry exists? And in that case, they have carved it out, so it's only for that particular county. And so all we're doing here is asking for major citizens to give a voice to their constituents, so that if constituents say yes to this, then it would exist. But if in fact you and I are right in what our constituents have told us, they're going to say no. But all we're doing is asking to give our constituents the right to determine whether or not they want this to exist in their communities. Is that correct?
Chairwoman Giddings, you're absolutely correct. We are taking an unprecedented step here. And you correctly point out that in many of the states that have done open carry, they have correctly acknowledged the difference between a rural environment and an urban environment. And they have created a law appropriately. Here, we are treating all areas the same, and this is not one size fits all. This is what we should be doing instead, and the correct policy decision is that we allow our big cities in excess of 750,000 to self-determine, to vote whether they want open carry or not. Because I tell you, if you put this to a vote in the cities, I think people are going to say resoundingly no, and the polling points that out.
And actually, that's the case even with law enforcement officials. Are you aware of that? In Texas, 192 police chiefs were surveyed, and over 74% of them were against this law because they believe that it creates an additional risk for them. And I had law enforcement officials in a meeting in Dallas this weekend, and you might want to know that they are opposed to this because they think it's a threat to them to walk into a situation and have 4 or 5 people with exposed guns. Have you heard that?
Yes, I have. We heard from law enforcement. DPD has reached out to us. Look, I thought long and hard about this. this weekend. I really spent a lot of time just debating whether we wanted to bring this third reading amendment. And it's not to delay things, members, but I really am concerned about the policy decision that we are taking today. And I think we got in this rut of sort of voting against all the amendments last week. But I want people to think not about the scorecards. I don't want people to think about the pressure groups. What I want you to think today is about your constituents in the big cities. And if you don't represent big cities, please white light this. You don't have to vote on it. If you do represent the big cities, think about whether or not your constituents, your Republican constituents, your Democratic constituents, all your constituents are going to thank you. And I promise you, the first time that soccer mom runs around White Rock Lake and she feels threatened by some guys who are walking around in the shadows packing heat, they're not going to thank you.
Well, Representative Anchía, I talked to Representative Phillips early this morning, even before I talked to you, because my constituents don't very often light up my phones. They lit up my phones, both my personal phones and the phones at the office. Even though we were close, we got the voicemail to say, what in the world are you doing out there? And did you get the same kind of reaction when you returned home?
Well, it's been overwhelmingly, Madam Chair, against open carry. People say, what are we trying to solve for here? What are we spending all this time for here? So my constituents like yours don't want this.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Vialba, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield for some questions?
Anchía, do you yield?
I do.
So can you articulate for us how this is different than last week's amendment that you and Representative Johnson put forth?
So last week's amendment, Representative Johnson carried what I thought was a sensible amendment that said, listen, city councils can opt out. The difference between that amendment and this amendment is that it goes straight to the voters. The city councils, if they want to prohibit this, can't do it unilaterally. They have to order an election and put it to the voters. So the people, those people that folks in cities of 750,000 or more, those people get to vote on it. And again, it's an acknowledgement that we have to treat different parts of the state differently because we're not all the same in Texas. Our urban areas with respect to open carry are very different than our rural areas.
The people of the community, not the city council, not the county commissioners, the actual people who are going to be most affected by this, the soccer moms, the PTA dads, the folks at church, the people that are going to be walking through the neighborhoods, they're the ones that are going to make
Randy
this
raised a
decision.
point of order.
That's right.
Gentleman's time's expired.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Anchía to close.
Thank you, members. You know, as the debate was going on, I was thinking, what's the harm to the CHL holder in having one rural standard and one urban standard? I thought about it. And so when you come into the urban area, when you come to Dallas, when you go to Houston, you just have to conceal, which is what you've been doing anyway. In fact, the arguments against this amendment are, well, this law is really not going to do anything. Well, if it's not going to do anything, first of all, why do you want it so bad? And secondly, why don't you let us opt out if you think there are minimal impacts of this? All we would be doing is when you come to the city of Dallas, you leave the gun in your car or you keep it on your person concealed. You don't open carry. That's all we would be asking. It's not this great inconvenience. We're not taking away anybody's guns. We're not infringing on anyone's Second Amendment rights. It's pretty basic. You conceal when you're in the big cities, and otherwise, you open carry.
Mr. Speaker.
As I read the list, sorry, Madam Chair, and don't slow my roll. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding.
For what purpose?
As I'm
Not this time.
as I'm thinking through this, and I'm looking at the list of these cities, many of the cities in the top 12 that I named earlier are in states with open carry. Why can't we do the same thing, members? I was disappointed to hear that this would not be left to the will of the House, but I will ask members, if you are not impacted by this, if you do not represent a city that is 750,000 and more, please white light this, or please vote in favor, because it doesn't impact you. I am asking for the constituents that I represent and the people behind me in the big cities that have a different situation than you all in the suburbs and in urban areas. please, please let us determine our fate. So with that, members, I'd ask you that you vote no on the motion to table, or at least white light if this fight is not yours and you do not represent an urban area of 750,000 and more. You can still vote for the final bill, members, and you can still go home and say to your constituents, I got you open carry, but what you'll be saying to me and the people behind me is that I was not willing to put it on you if you didn't want it. So thank you, members.